So guys, I have this pro-painted Vestroyan model here. Okay, I'm just kidding, I actually have a ton of terrain to show you guys today. This is my trusty Vestroyan. I have been really becoming enamored with the Vestroyan Imperial Guard Army as of late. I am actually starting to collect one. But let's get to the terrain, and my trusty Vestroyan soldier shall be on the terrain for comparison. So, the Bearded Dragon Game Store project has exited assembly and entered painting. By the way, this is Jared with Golden Chalice Painting. He is helping me paint some terrain. Yeah.
It's awesome terrain.
And just to show off some of his skills, he painted up this this really cool looking orc barricade that I built. So, and you know, for reference, we'll put my trusty Vestroyan on top.
Yeah, he looks pretty cool up there.
But yeah, we're just going to go through here. And tell me a little bit of the techniques that you used on this, Jared.
Well, we did a lot of, you know, subtle color changes in there and tried to make it look rusty. And there's a lot of like browns and oranges, and of course it's gonna be a jungle at the end, so it'll really contrast to the bright green. I think it'll look really good.
Yeah, and we've got like this tree right here where there's obviously going to be some jungle sprout, and then there's one right here as well that's going to do the same thing. Not to mention you're going to have a lot of bright flock and such put on it. And these, you know, these are just base coated for the most part. These are just some jungle pools. So I'm just going to also take a look at this this mech
Work
shop.
in progress here.
Work in progress mech shop. So this is what Jared's working on at the moment.
So we're really brightening up these panels in a white. Of course, we're going to recut it in, and we're going to make them a bright yellow because it's the snake bites.
Yeah, snake bites. And you did that also to this this big, huge orc.
Yeah, that'll be all.
It's like the front of the battle wagon.
We'll give it some washes, really make it look good.
Yeah, that's going to look amazing when it's done. And of course, you know, for comparison, my trusty Vestroyan hanging out, you know. Feel like he should be like wearing sunglasses or something. He's going so many places right now. But that gives you an idea of scale right there. So we're going to move on while I get out of Jared's way, let him get back to what he does, because he does it best. We also have these are jungle trees. So what these are is these are my normal trees that I make. If you've seen my videos in the past on those, this is a variation where we used pieces from pine trees, actually. So that's what these branches are made out of. And what we're going to do is we're going to attach the foliage is going to actually just be aquarium scenery, and you know, give you an idea of scale. And we've also taken and built these stacked hills, you know, with the same motif except some thicker tree trunks. Going to cover these head to toe in, you know, jungle foliage. You also have this wonderfully huge orc totem. I'm just going to take this over here to kind of get a better look at it. We have a couple things. And, you know, that gives you an idea of just how big that orc skull is. That's a pretty big orc skull. It is an effigy to Gork, or possibly Mork. Which one? I don't know. Could be both, could be one. Yeah. Then again, they say that Gork is just one side of Mork, and Mork is just one side of Gork.
It's like they're gods.
Yep. Two sides of the same orc tooth. I'm in a cheesy mood today. So, moving on, we also got these. You got two of these ruined 40K buildings. Cool. Yeah, we're going to do a lot of airbrushing. I think we're going to do some
foliage.
Some battle damage, some overgrowth, all sorts of painting details. And, you know, just put our Vestroyan up top. You also have this big tree that's growing along the side of it. That's going to go up here and going to end in a, you know, big huge palm. You've also got the same thing going on this one. You know, got a bigger tree there and a smaller tree there. And you also have, you know, remnants of orc looting is kind of all over the place. What we also did with this, that I haven't done in the past, is we use this textured plating that you see right here. And that's present throughout all the 40K ruins for this set. In various ways. For the jungle set, we went for more of a, you know, it looks like the orcs have been looting, so they've been ripping up pieces of the plating, and it just looks derelict and, you know, really torn up. So I'm going to flip this one around as well. And also one thing I tried to do when I was assembling these is to give them a distinct style. So you have that one there, and then you have this one there. So it's almost like, you know, they're from different eras in the particular jungle of types of buildings. Then we have over here,
Yeah, that one's awesome.
this is a temple shrine kind of sacrificial pit thing. This is actually was oriented around the idea of lizard men. You know, may fantasy forever rest in peace. But I'm just going to kind of go in here on these hand etched glyphs all over the place. Lots of basing, all sorts of stuff going on. I put a spider on the back there just because, you know, that's always, they always worship something nasty, and I didn't want it to just be like a straight lizard man kind of shrine, but that's the sort of feel that I went for. You do see some lizard man symbology on it in areas, but maybe it's been like taken over by someone else.
Goblins.
Yeah, goblins. Goblins could have taken it over. I mean, the orcs are present, so, you know, in fantasy they would be here too. And then, you know, over here we just have the rest of these tiered hills. Just grab my trusty Vestroyan as he travels through the jungles of the bearded dragon. And as you can see, pretty nice little hills. They're going to look a lot better once we get the airbrush to them and then start putting all the foliage and flock down. Which I'm expecting us to have some updated photos for the Facebook account and the Instagram and the Pinterest. We now have all those, thanks to my marketing girl, Brittany. And you'll see these images start popping up over the next few days. So that's Jungle Board. I'll let Jared get back to his thing, and we're going to move on to the second board. It's a big terrain day. There's a reason you haven't heard from me in a while. I've been extremely busy trying to put together tons of terrain. By the way, all of these boards are what we consider epic level. This is just a lot of detail work, a lot of just everything. So it is a whole bunch of fun stuff on each of these pieces. So first up, this is a forest board. So this is kind of in line with our normal forest sets that you've seen in the past, just with a lot more detail, a lot more newer techniques added to the board. So first up is you have on this set a lot more 40K runes. This is a pretty simple thing. One of the things also that I've experimented with, and I kind of like how it's turned out. You can't see it very well because it's just base coated, but if you look closely, there's a lot of texture in this now. These aren't just flat sidings anymore. And what that is I've used this stuff called super heavy gesso. If you're an artist, you know what it is. You can get it at Hobby Lobby, you can get it at Michael's. Liquitex makes it. And it's a nice alternative to using like filler to create texture. And as you can see, just a simple little, you know, ruined area for you to hide your troops. And this particular one has more of the classic 40K ruins than the other sets. So you've got your, you know, your 2-3-story buildings. Got your little columns as well. You know, one of the things also is here you can see there's a much heavier amount of that plating that we've been using throughout the whole set. And then over here you can see where it's still present, but it's been mostly covered up by like debris and overgrowth. And then you have this one right here. Just put my little Vestroyan right there. And this one's kind of more like it exploded two buildings that were, you know, on the same construction layout. So you have this wall that runs in between both the floors. I think it creates an interesting effect. And then the last of the forest 40K buildings is just a little bit of a more intact one. It actually has, you know, three walls rather than just two. And put our little Vestroyan up there. As you can see, you have a lot of space to get your troops in there. And I apologize for the sniffles. If you hear them, it is that season. So, then the rest of the set falls into more of a ruined sort of castle, overgrown kind of feel to it. So you have, you know, these big, huge archways, which are big enough for you to get a small warjack for War Machine, or even a dreadnought for 40K through. And you got lots of rocks, lots of stones.
I love the detail on those rocks. It's just amazing.
Oh yeah. And that's a combination of various things. It's not one type of rock that we use. We use the cast rocks from the Woodland Scenics molds. We use a combination of bark, which you can pick up usually during the summer or spring at any big box store. And then we just use also a combination of carved rocks as well. And over here you have, you know, a hill. Nothing terribly fancy to it, but the hill is pretty detailed. And all of these are also going to get added the notch brand trees that I normally use on top of them. So these aren't going to be just, you know, oh, it's a ruined castle piece with flock and paint. No, it'll have like, you'll have a tree standing here, you'll have a tree standing there. So they're actually going to be, you know, hooked in rather well. So you're going to actually have a lot of line of sight blocking going on with these, as the trees have actually overgrown a huge amount of the forest. And this one, you know, to give you kind of a little bit of scale, nice place for you to stick a couple of troops and an objective marker. And then over here we start getting into like the Celtic stuff. So you have like this Celtic, you know, glowy, we're gonna make these glow, nice green glow to them. You know, this is just more of like an impassable piece. You know, you can't really get troops in there very well, but you need those kind of pieces in 40K as well. And this is a slightly smaller hill. I'm gonna flip it around to give you a good look at it. And you have another Celtic piece, except this one has some more like standing stones going on. And we'll put our little Vestroyan right there in between. So it's big enough for you to get a single infantry through. And moving over here, you also have more of our ruined castle pieces. Now this doorway is a little less large, you know, only single infantry, but I feel that that is pretty good for games. You've got more of this detailed rock basing everywhere. Then we're going to move on down here to this end, where you see these massive Stonehenge pieces. Now the Stonehenge pieces look pretty bare at the moment, but that's also because they're going to get flock and trees all over them. And to give you an idea of how wide those are, there's our little Vestroyan guy. And the big one, it's a little tighter, but you can still get your basic infantry through. You've got these chains and these ropes hanging off. So it's sort of like, are these Stonehenge ancient shrines to chaos? Or are they just, you know, some lost civilization that, you know, various beastmen and other horrible things have commandeered over the years? You also have like little bits attached to various spots and lots of detail to the basing. And something else to know is these aren't just, you know, carved foam. If you look really closely, see if the camera will focus, there's actually a lot of texture that's been imprinted into the terrain. So once we take the airbrush to this and start, you know, getting all the paint on it, it'll look really nice. Then the last of our forest board pieces is over here. This is sort of like a ruined sort of gateway. I kind of looked at this as Mines of Moria came in mind from that scene in Lord of the Rings. So, you know, etched a little design in there with a gem and a doorway. And one of the things I really enjoyed about this set is I finally perfected my epic cobblestone. I finally have it exactly where I want it. I think it looks far better than any cobblestone I've done in the past. And I had a lot of practice on it. And then also pushing in various bricks really makes the wall look less like a flat wall and more like an actual, you know, built castle wall. Okay, last set on this block. I know this is a really long video, isn't it? It's cool, a little. Though. Oh yeah, lot of stuff going on. We have the winter set. Yeah. Also keep in mind, the Realms of Battle that I did earlier this year, this is the same project. The Realms of Battle have already been shipped off though. So this is kind of a little Space Wolf themed with the 40K buildings. And what I used on this, instead of using the heavy gesso, I used resin sand by Liquitex. I've attached all sorts of bits and consoles everywhere. We're just going to do a pan around this building. I've used various, imperial bits as well. And you can also see the, let me see if I can get it to focus. You can see the plating of that material that we used as well. Trying to see if it'll show up. It'll show up once we get it painted, but right now it's not showing up too well. You can kind of see it up here as well. It's that crisscross sort of plating that we've been using. I'll just turn this. Also, the reason we have these are actually not boulders. This is what you use. You put a piece of foam down and carve it roughly to the size of the snowdrift, because then you use less flock when you're actually creating the snowdrift, and it makes it look a little bit more realistic. And you've got like little hatches, escape hatches and such. All over the place. And you've got this cool little doorway, and you got another doorway, and then up here you have all these little spots where you can place, snipers or, artillery dudes, all that kind of stuff. And sort of, I think that's like a Vox caster off of a tank, I'm not sure. And then that banner. Jared's going to have fun with these banners that are hanging on the winter set. So then we're going to move on to the second of these pieces. This is more like a little observation post outpost. And you got all sorts of details, little bits glued on. Little hatches that they can come out of at different spots. And I experimented also with new types of foam as well on the set. I'll actually have some right here. This is the type of foam that I experimented with. It's kind of a flexible. Yeah, you can get this at like craft stores. I think it's just foam sheets. I had a bunch laying around from my old days of like crafting before I got into war games, and it worked out really well. It was how I got these tiered effects with the multiple surface levels. More banners all over the place, lots of bits, all sorts of cool stuff, and our little Vistorian hanging out. These are just forests as well. There was a pile of these also on the forest board over here, and those are just going to be forest flats. Every set has a set of forest flats, and they will get flocked, and you will see tons of foliage attached to them. So next is this smaller ruined 40K building. We got like sort of this little archway right here, big enough for you to get one infantry through. And you have more bits attached to them. What I really like about the resin sand is it creates a lot of not only does it help toughen up the foam, I mean it really, because it's resin, so obviously it's going to toughen it up a lot. But it helps to create a nice texture for everything. You've got like debris and rocks, and looks like a tank trap right there where someone's like in the past has holed up there. And then this one we actually left this more open because there's going to be a lot of snow on this and ice, so we went a little lighter on the flocking. And that's going to be an ice pool right there with a couple of trees attached around it. And this is sort of like an ice step. This is where we're getting into like the fantasy parts here, because you see you have like the big demonic head that is encased in the ice, and what looks to be like frozen body parts that maybe an ogre has left over. So this might even be a place like near a lair for something horrible. And over here is the last of our 40K buildings for the winter set. Back of a Bane blade is what I believe this was. Correct me if I'm wrong. And then you've got more panels, more rocks, more details. And I like this one a lot because it has like areas where you can hide your troops. It's got nice details, with the basing. Got like, This could be entrance to like a basement area. And then you can also see where this is some sort of, basically this is some sort of like power generator is what I made it up to be. And then more bits along this side as well. And keeping with the theme of ruined fantasy also in these sets, because these sets are both sci-fi and fantasy. They're just general game store terrain. You have all of these. Let me just separate them off real quick. You have all these similar castle pieces. Now the big difference between these is that these are going to be more for a winter set. So what I did is I put a lot more areas where we can build up snow, a lot bigger piles of stuff, so that way you can see how the snow and the ice effects go in. And of course they'll have trees attached to them as well, winter trees. Notch actually started making a winter tree set, and I'm really excited to see how it looks once this is all combined. We got little windows, and our trusty Vestroyan for scale. And we're going to do the same thing over here. And then this one, you actually have a two-story ruin. And here's also, you know, my attention to detail is even underneath you have at least some detail that has been etched in to the stone. Because for me, you know, breaks the immersion is when you know, yeah, how many people are actually going to look at the ceiling of the first floor, but when you see that detail, it's a nice little Easter egg. Then over here, you've got a bunch of just rock and ice shard pieces. These are meant to be like just these huge jutting shards of ice that are coming up out of the ground. And kind of the narrative behind this is you have this, you know, massive wizard's tower, which I don't know if anyone has been watching the Facebook or not, but this thing is huge, and this one is really detailed. We'll get to that in a second, because that deserves its own, like, you know, little segment. And you basically just have, like, you know, these little rocky outcroppings. And you got this one also. This one has a little space for you to get your guys through. And, you know, one of my big things with terrain, and the reason I build it, you know, to where you can usually only fit one or two guys, is because you're going to have big open areas in between terrain pieces anyway. So it's always good to have little corners that you can go around. And now we're going to get to this bad boy, which I'm actually going to bring him over here, where I have slightly better lighting. This is the Wizard's Tower. Now this started off as just another piece, but for some reason the creative muses that exist in the universe grabbed hold of me with both hands, and I just turned this thing into a gigantic centerpiece for this particular board. So I'm just going to go through here. Yes, every single stone on the Wizard's Tower has a rune. And we actually, me and Jared discussed how we're going to paint this. Some of the runes will be glowing in various degrees, and some will be brighter, and some will not be glowing. You also have these banners. These are actual cloth, and what I did is I dipped them in a mixture of PVA glue and water.
Jared has to come see this.
Jared has to come see this.
Yeah, I love the texture in them.
Yeah, let's go close up on that.
Feel.
Because it's actual cloth too.
Yeah,
that's going to really make it shine when you go to it doing your fancy cloth features. Now this up here is actually multiple things. This entire thing is based off of just various cans and other things that I had to create a structure for it, which I then built the bricks around. I created these sort of rocky circular balconies out of Das clay. I also used a lot of the wood bark to create these big, huge, you know, jutting pieces of rock off of them. And this up here is a mixture of Das clay, the wood pieces, and just imprinting, using actual rocks to imprint. And then you have this little Sauron-like gem at the top that's going to be like glowing really blue. It's going to be all like super cold.
The brightest at the top.
Yep. And we're just going to turn that. And of course, our trusty Vestorian is going to... Yep, we got to have him travel to the Wizard's Tower. Now this, you know, admittedly, this is basically a centerpiece. It's pretty much impassable terrain. You got also these pieces right here, which are, you know, big jagged crystals that are going to glow as well. But I think it's still going to look pretty danged amazing once it's painted up. And you'll want to play with it, just, you know, have also... How many things can you fit a Wraith Knight behind, right? Or even, like, an Imperial Titan. Yeah, or an Imperial Knight. So, you know, with where the meta has been going with 40K and, you know, other games, huge pieces of terrain like this are actually kind of cool. So that is everything for the Bearded Dragon Game Store. It's been a very massive project, a whole lot of new techniques discovered, and we're going to get you an update when we finish painting and flocking it. And I think we're going to try and get, what, like, at least one game on each. Put a battle report for each one.
Yeah, we got to play on this awesome terrain.
Yeah, I mean, it's not going to be like, I don't know, do we want to do probably just 40K, I'd say. So we'll just do some...
My bag.
Yep, we'll get some 40K bat reps up for this once we get it all completed. All right, thanks, guys. And remember to like, share, and subscribe. And if you want to get something like this, contact us at projects@titanterrainstudio.com.